I was under the hood of my Honda Civic at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, cursing at a stubborn alternator bolt, when Melissa appeared in the kitchen doorway. The porch light cast her silhouette against the yellow glow, and even from 20 feet away, I could see that look on her face, the one that meant trouble. "Jack," she called out, her voice carrying that particular tone she used when she'd already made up her mind about something. "We need to talk." I wiped my hands on an old rag and walked toward the house, my work boots crunching on the gravel driveway. At 39, I'd learned to read my wife's moods like weather patterns, and this one felt like a storm front moving in fast. "What's up?" I asked, stepping into the kitchen. The fluorescent light made everything look harsh and clinical. Melissa stood there in her work clothes, a navy blue suit that probably cost more than I made in a week doing IT security consulting. Her blonde hair was pulled back in that perfect way that never seemed to get messed up, even after a 12-hour day at the marketing firm downtown. "I'm going on a date," she said. Just like that. No preamble, no explanation. Like she was telling me she'd picked up milk on the way home. I stared at her for a long moment, waiting for the punchline or the context that would make this make sense. When neither came, I felt something shift inside my chest. Not heartbreak, not anger, but something colder and more calculating. "A date," I repeated, "with someone from work. His name is Trent." She crossed her arms, and I noticed she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. "I wanted to be honest with you." Honest. That was rich. I'd been married to this woman for 12 years, and I knew her tells better than anyone. The way she touched her neck when she was nervous, how she avoided eye contact when she was lying, the slight uptick in her voice when she was trying to convince herself of something. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "It's not going on. It's just starting." Another lie. Her fingers went to her neck, right on cue. I nodded slowly, processing this information like I would a security breach at work, methodically, looking for the vulnerabilities and entry points. "So you're telling me you want to start dating other people?" "I'm telling you I'm going out with Trent tomorrow night." She lifted her chin, defiant. "I need to see what else is out there, Jack. I need to know if this is all there is. This, our house, our life, me, all of it reduced to this." I walked to the refrigerator and pulled out a beer, taking my time with the bottle opener. The metal cap clinked against the kitchen counter, unnaturally loud in the silence. "Melissa," I said finally, turning to face her, "if you walk out that door tomorrow night, everything will change." She laughed, actually laughed, and shook her head. "Don't be dramatic, Jack. People have open marriages all the time. Maybe we just need to explore our options." "I'm not being dramatic. I'm giving you fair warning." I took a sip of beer and met her eyes. "You walk out that door to go on a date with another man, and I promise you, everything between us will change. Forever." For just a moment, I saw uncertainty flicker across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by that stubborn set to her jaw that I'd seen 1,000 times before. "Fine," she said. "Maybe it's time for some changes around here anyway." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. She turned and walked toward the stairs, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. At the bottom step, she paused and looked back at me. "I'm staying at my sister's tonight. I'll be back tomorrow to get ready for my date." I didn't respond. I just stood there in the kitchen, holding my beer, listening to her footsteps on the stairs and then the sound of her packing. 20 minutes later, I heard her car start up and pull out of the driveway. That's when I got to work. The first thing I did was change all the passwords. Wi-Fi, Netflix, Amazon, our shared cloud storage, everything. Then I called the bank and put a freeze on our joint credit cards, citing suspicious activity. It wasn't technically a lie. Melissa's behavior was definitely suspicious. By 2 in the morning, I'd locked down every digital aspect of our shared life. But that was just the beginning. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Harris's boxing gym on the south side of town. Harris McKenna had been my best friend since college, and after 20 years as a cop, he'd retired early to open up a place where guys like us could work out their frustrations without ending up in handcuffs. The gym smelled like sweat and leather, with the rhythmic thump of heavy bags providing a soundtrack to my thoughts. Harris was behind the front desk, reading the newspaper with a cup of coffee that looked strong enough to strip paint. "You look like hell," he said without looking up. "Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear." I grabbed a pair of gloves from the rack and started wrapping my hands. "Melissa again?" "Melissa always." I gave him the short version while I worked the heavy bag, each punch punctuating my words. Left jab, right cross. "She's dating someone from work. Hook to the body. Some guy named Trent. Uppercut. Harris watched me work for a few minutes before speaking. What are you going to do about it? I warned her. She didn't listen. I stopped punching and leaned against the bag, breathing hard. Now I'm going to show her what change looks like. Be careful, Jack. Don't do anything stupid. Stupid would be sitting around waiting for her to come to her senses. I unwrapped my hands and tossed the gloves back on the rack. I'm going to be smart about this. That afternoon, I put my IT skills to work. Melissa had always been careless with her digital security, and we'd shared passwords for so long that I knew all her old ones. It took me less than an hour to get into her cloud backup. What I found there made my jaw clench so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. Text messages going back 3 months. Voice memos. Photos. Melissa and Trent had been planning this for a long time, and they'd been laughing about it. About me. Poor Jack, one message read. He has no idea what's coming. I almost feel sorry for him. Don't, came Trent's reply. Guy's a loser anyway. You deserve better. I know. It's just going to be so easy. He's completely clueless. I saved everything to a secure drive and then sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. The woman I'd loved for 12 years, the woman I'd worked 60-hour weeks to support while she built her career, was talking about me like I was some kind of joke. That's when I stopped feeling sorry for myself and started feeling something much more dangerous. At 6 o'clock, I followed Melissa's car to Elevation, a trendy rooftop bar downtown. I watched from across the street as she met Trent at the entrance, a guy who looked like he spent more on his haircut than I spent on groceries in a month. They kissed right there on the sidewalk, and Melissa threw her head back and laughed at something he said. I waited until they went inside, then walked over to Trent's car, a black Tesla Model S parked in the VIP section. I pulled out a business card and wrote a message on the back. Hope she's worth it. She ruined me. I'll ruin you. Fair warning. I slipped it under his windshield wiper and was walking back to my car when I spotted Dana Morrison, Melissa's best friend, standing on the corner with her phone raised. She'd been filming me. Our eyes met across the street, and she quickly lowered her phone and hurried away. But I'd seen enough to know that Melissa would hear about this within the hour. Good. Let her know I was watching. I was right about Dana. By 8 the next morning, my phone was ringing with a call from my biggest client. Jack, we need to talk, said Tom Bradley, the CEO of a mid-sized tech company I'd been doing security consulting for over the past 2 years. I got some concerning information about you yesterday. My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice steady. What kind of information? Screenshots of text messages, stuff that makes you look pretty unstable, controlling behavior toward your wife, some threatening language. He paused. Look, I like you, Jack, but I can't have this kind of drama affecting our business relationship. I'm going to need to put our contract on hold until you get your personal situation sorted out. After I hung up, I sat in my home office staring at the wall. Melissa had moved faster than I'd expected, and she'd hit me where it hurt most, my livelihood. The text messages Tom mentioned were real, but they were from 2 years ago during a rough patch in our marriage, taken completely out of context and weaponized. I had to admire the strategy, even as it made me furious. My phone buzzed with a text from Harris. Come to the gym, now. 20 minutes later, I was sitting across from him in his cluttered office above the main floor, telling him what had happened. She's good, Harris said when I finished. I'll give her that. Professional, surgical. She's trying to isolate you, cut off your resources. So what do? Harris leaned back in his chair, which creaked under his weight. The man had been built like a linebacker since high school, and retirement hadn't softened him much. You want my advice? Fight back, but fight smart. Don't get emotional, don't get sloppy. Hit them where they're vulnerable, but never leave fingerprints. He fixed me with that cop stare that had probably made 1,000 perps confess. And whatever you do, don't get caught. That afternoon, I started my research in earnest. Trent Morrison, 35, assistant marketing manager at Melissa's firm, divorced 2 years ago, lived alone in a luxury condo downtown. More importantly, he was one of those guys who thought smart homes and social media were the greatest things ever invented. Big mistake. It took me 3 hours to map out his digital life. Ring doorbell, Nest thermostat, smart locks, Wi-Fi enabled everything. His Instagram was public. His LinkedIn showed off every career move, and his Facebook privacy settings were a joke. The guy had handed me a roadmap to his entire existence. I waited until Thursday night. According to his social media, Trent was giving a big presentation to potential clients via livestream, something about innovative marketing strategies for the digital age. The irony was too perfect to pass up. At exactly 8 p.m., I triggered every smart device in his condo simultaneously. The doorbell started ringing, the smoke alarms went off, the thermostat cranked the heat to 90 degrees, and his sound system began blasting metal at full volume. I watched the live stream from my laptop, laughing as Trent tried to maintain his composure while chaos erupted around him. He kept apologizing to the clients, sweat beading on his forehead as he fumbled with his phone trying to shut everything down. The stream cut out after 10 minutes, but the damage was done. Within an hour, someone had screen recorded the whole thing and posted it on YouTube with the title, "Marketing Genius Can't Market His Way Out of His Own Home." I created an anonymous account and left a comment. "Should have checked your security, Trent. Some of us actually know what we're doing." The video had 50,000 views by morning, but Melissa wasn't done with me yet. Friday afternoon, I got another call, this time from Janet Walsh, the HR director at my consulting firm. "Jack, I need you to come in on Monday morning. We've had some complaints about your conduct, and there are questions about your client relationships." "What kind of complaints?" "I'd rather discuss this in person, but Jack?" Her voice softened slightly. "You might want to bring a lawyer." I hung up and immediately called Tom Bradley back, but his assistant said he was unavailable. Same story with my other two major clients. Melissa had been busy. That evening, I drove to Dana Morrison's house in the suburbs. Dana had always been the weak link in Melissa's social circle, gossipy, insecure, and desperate to be included in drama that made her feel important. I parked across the street and waited. At 7:30, she came out to get her mail, and I approached her on the sidewalk. "Hi, Dana." She jumped and clutched the mail to her chest. "Jack, you scared me." "Sorry, I was hoping we could talk." "I don't think that's a good idea." She started backing toward her house. "It's about Melissa. I think you should know what's really going on." That stopped her. Dana's curiosity always trumped her common sense. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone and showed her some of the screenshots I'd saved. Messages where Melissa complained about Dana's weight, called her desperate, made fun of her divorce. "She's been saying this stuff about you for months," I said, watching Dana's face crumble. "I thought you should know what kind of friend you're protecting." "That's not... she wouldn't..." But Dana was staring at the messages, recognizing Melissa's writing style, her particular brand of casual cruelty. "There's more," I said, "about the money she and Trent have been skimming from client accounts to pay for their little romantic getaways, about how she's planning to throw him under the bus if they get caught, about how she really feels about all of you." I didn't wait for her to respond. I just walked back to my car and drove away, leaving Dana standing on her sidewalk with her whole world view crashing down around her. By Sunday morning, Melissa's phone was ringing nonstop. Her carefully cultivated social circle was imploding as Dana spread the word, and the gossip network that had once protected my wife was now turning against her. But I wasn't done yet. Monday morning, instead of going to my HR meeting, I made a different kind of appointment. I called Melissa's office and asked to speak with her boss, Richard Hawthorne. "Mr. Hawthorne, this is Jack Patterson, Melissa's husband. I need to speak with you about some irregularities I've discovered in client billing." There was a long pause. "What kind of irregularities?" "The kind that might interest the company's auditors. Can we meet?" An hour later, I was sitting in Hawthorne's corner office, laying out everything I'd found. Melissa and Trent had been padding client expenses, billing for fictional marketing materials, and routing the excess into accounts they controlled. It wasn't enough to trigger automatic fraud detection, but over 6 months, it added up to nearly $30,000. "Why are you bringing this to me?" Hawthorne asked. "This is your wife we're talking about." "My wife chose her path. I'm choosing mine." Hawthorne studied the documents I'd given him. "This is serious, Jack. If this is accurate, both of them could face criminal charges. I'm not looking to send anyone to prison. I just want them to face consequences for their choices." That afternoon, Melissa called me for the first time in 4 days. "What did you do?" she demanded. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Richard pulled me into his office. He's asking questions about client billing, about expense reports. Someone gave him information. "Maybe you should be more careful about your business practices." "This is you, isn't it? You're trying to destroy my career." "I warned you, Melissa. I told you exactly what would happen if you walked out that door." "You're insane. You know that? You're completely insane." "No," I said calmly. "I'm just keeping my promises." She hung up, but I knew she'd call back. And when she did, I'd be ready with the next phase of my plan. The following Saturday, I sent out invitations for a house celebration party. I invited everyone. Our neighbors, Melissa's coworkers, her parents, our old friends from college. Even Trent, who I contacted through a fake email account claiming to be a real estate agent, interested in discussing property values in the area. Melissa was furious when she found out, but she couldn't back down without looking guilty. She showed up at 7 p.m. wearing a black dress and a forced smile, playing the role of the happy wife for our guests. Trent arrived 20 minutes later, looking confused but trying to play it cool. I greeted him at the door like an old friend. "So glad you could make it," I said, shaking his hand. "I've been looking forward to meeting you properly." The party was going well, people mingling, drinking wine, making small talk about the neighborhood and work. Around 8:30, I called everyone into the living room. "I wanted to thank you all for coming tonight," I said, standing in front of the big screen TV. "Melissa and I have some news to share, and we thought it would be nice to have all our friends and family here." I saw Melissa's face go pale. She started to stand up, but I was already reaching for the remote. "I put together a little slideshow," I continued, "a retrospective of our marriage." The first few slides were normal. Wedding photos, vacations, anniversaries. People smiled and made appreciative noises. Then the tone shifted. Screenshots of text messages appeared on the screen. Melissa and Trent planning their affair, laughing about deceiving me, talking about the money they were stealing from their company. The room went silent except for the sound of people shifting uncomfortably in their seats. "Jack, stop this," Melissa said, her voice shaking. But I was just getting started. The next slides showed expense reports, bank statements, hotel receipts, a paper trail of lies and theft that painted a very clear picture. Trent jumped up and lunged for the TV, trying to unplug it. I stepped between him and the screen. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," I said quietly. "You're crazy," he said, but his voice cracked. "This is harassment. This is the truth." Melissa's parents stood up and walked out without a word. Her boss followed them. One by one, people began leaving, but not before they'd seen everything. Dana was the last to go, and she stopped at the door to look back at Melissa. "I trusted you," she said. "I defended you, and you talked about me like I was garbage." After everyone left, it was just the three of us, me, Melissa, and Trent, standing in the wreckage of what used to be my wife's carefully constructed life. "I warned you," I said to Melissa. "I told you exactly what would happen." Melissa collapsed onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. "You've ruined everything. My job, my friends, my family. You ruined it the moment you decided I wasn't enough." Trent was backing toward the door. "I'm leaving. This is between you two." "No," I said, turning to face him. "You're part of this now. You made yourself part of this when you decided to pursue a married woman." "She said you guys were getting divorced?" "She lied. She's good at that." I walked him to the door and watched him get into his Tesla. As he drove away, I noticed several of our neighbors standing in their yards, watching the drama unfold. Good. Let them see. Let everyone know what happens when you cross me. Monday morning brought the consequences I'd been orchestrating. Richard Hawthorne called Melissa into his office and terminated her employment effective immediately. The company's investigation had confirmed everything I'd shown them, and while they weren't pressing criminal charges, they were pursuing civil remedies to recover the stolen funds. Trent was fired the same day. I drove to his condo that afternoon and found him in the lobby, arguing with the building manager about breaking his lease. "Hello, Trent," I said. He turned around and I saw that he looked like he hadn't slept in days. His expensive suit was wrinkled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. "Stay away from me," he said. "I just wanted to make sure you got the message." "What message?" "That there are consequences for your actions. That you can't just take what belongs to someone else and expect to walk away clean." The building manager was watching us nervously, probably wondering if he should call security. "You destroyed my life," Trent said. "No, I just revealed who you really are. The destruction was a natural consequence." I turned to leave, then paused and looked back at him. "Oh, and Trent, if you ever come near my wife again, what happened this week will seem like a friendly warning." That evening, Melissa came home. Really home, for the first time since this all started. She looked exhausted, defeated, and older than her 37 years. "I lost my job," she said. "I know. My parents won't talk to me. My friends hate me. Trent won't return my calls. I'm sorry to hear that." She stared at me for a long moment. "You're not sorry at all, are you?" "No," I said. "I'm not." "What happens now?" I considered the question. A month ago, I would have said we could work through this, go to counseling, rebuild our marriage. But that was before I saw those text messages, before I heard her laughing about how easy it would be to fool me. "Now you live with the consequences of your choices," I said, "just like I have to live with mine." "I made a mistake, Jack. I know that now. But what you did was worse. You systematically destroyed everything I cared about. I kept a promise. I told you that if you walked out that door, everything would change. You didn't believe me." She started crying then, not the manipulative tears she'd used during arguments in the past, but genuine sobs of someone who'd lost everything and finally understood why. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." But it was too late for apologies. Some lines, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. Some trust, once broken, can never be repaired. I walked to the kitchen and got a beer from the refrigerator, the same brand I'd been drinking the night she told me about her date. It felt like a lifetime ago. When I came back to the living room, Melissa was gone. I heard her car start up in the driveway, and then the sound of her driving away. I sat down in my chair and turned on the TV, finally allowing myself to feel the weight of what I'd accomplished. I'd kept my promise. I'd shown her exactly what change looked like. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled.